People don't succeed because they wish for success. They succeed because at their core, they believe they were meant to. Not in an arrogant way, not in a loud or flashy way, but in a deep, grounded, unshakable way. They carry within them a quiet certainty that says, this is possible, this is mine. That's where the law of attraction begins, not with vision boards or affirmations, but with belief. Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe. Think about it. How many times have you wanted something deeply, worked toward it, chased it, and still felt like it was always out of reach? And yet other times, things just seem to fall into place. Like the right door opened at just the right moment, or the right person came into your life without you forcing it. What's the difference? The difference is internal alignment. It's belief. Belief isn't just mental agreement. It's not saying, I believe with your mouth while doubting with your heart. Belief is the internal green light. It's the signal that tells your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, go. When that belief is solid, everything you do carries a kind of quiet power. You become magnetic. The law of attraction is often misunderstood as some kind of magical thinking, but it's not magic, it's alignment. It's about aligning who you are on the inside with what you want to see on the outside. And that alignment begins with what you believe to be true about yourself and what you're capable of. Here's the challenge. Most people believe more in their limitations than they do in their potential. They rehearse doubt like a daily ritual. They remember every failure, every rejection, every reason why it won't work, and then they wonder why things don't change. But that's exactly what the law of attraction reflects. Not what you hope for, but what you expect. Expectation is born from belief, and belief is a choice. Belief isn't about pretending. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing to focus on possibility more than fear. It's about developing the kind of mindset that asks, what if it does work out, instead of always bracing for the worst? And that choice, made consistently, reshapes the way you think, speak, and act. Belief affects your language. Someone who believes in themselves speaks differently. They don't just talk about what they're doing, they speak with conviction. They say when instead of if. They talk in terms of purpose, not pressure. They are not desperate, they're committed. And people feel that difference. Belief affects your body language. You ever notice how someone walks when they feel confident? Shoulders back, eyes up, present in the room, not loud, not arrogant, but sure. That kind of presence is attractive, and not just socially, it draws in opportunities, connections, partnerships, and trust. That's the law at work. Like attracts like. Confidence attracts confidence. Clarity attracts clarity. Now here's where it gets deeper. Belief changes your decisions. When you believe in your ability to succeed, you make bolder choices, you take risks, not reckless ones, but intentional ones. You say yes to things that stretch you. You stop settling. You walk away from things that drain you. Why? Because when you really believe success is possible, you stop tolerating what isn't aligned with it. And slowly your life begins to change, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. That's what most people get backwards. They think success will change their belief. Once I make the money, then I'll feel confident. Once I'm in the relationship, then I'll feel worthy. Once I get the job, the body, the approval, then I'll believe in myself. But that's the wrong order. That's not how attraction works. Belief starts in the mind, but it can't stay there. It has to move into your identity. You have to believe at a core level that what you want is not only possible, but meant for you. Not in a self-entitled way, but in a deeply responsible way. Because when you believe something is yours, you treat it with care. You prepare for it. You act in integrity with it. This is why belief is so powerful. It doesn't just attract what you want, it shapes who you become. And that's the real secret. The law of attraction isn't about getting, it's about becoming. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally draws in what they want. Not because they're forcing it, but because they're living in alignment with it. That's the mindset shift. That's the why. People who consistently attract success into their lives aren't the luckiest or the smartest. They're the most aligned. They carry a belief system that matches their vision. They're not chasing success, they're becoming it. And that changes everything. So the question is not, how do I get what I want? The real question is, who do I need to become to naturally attract what I want? And that becoming starts with belief. Because when you believe you are worthy, you act like it. When you believe you have value, you show up like it. When you believe it's possible, you stop playing small. Everything shifts when belief becomes the foundation. So if you're going to start somewhere, don't start with a plan. Don't start with a goal. Don't start with what the world says you need to have or do. Start with belief. Success doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't respond to randomness. It responds to clarity. The clearer you are about where you're going, the more life seems to rise up to meet you. Opportunities show up, the right people cross your path, the dots begin to connect. But only when you know what you're actually aiming for. And this is where most people lose their power. Not because they don't work hard or because they don't care, but because they're not clear. They're chasing thought. They want to be successful, but they can't tell you what that really means. They want more money, more freedom, more happiness, but they haven't defined it, so they end up busy but not effective. In motion, but not in direction. Clarity is what separates movement from progress. You can be in constant motion and still be nowhere near where you want to go. But when you have clarity, real, deep, intentional clarity, your energy becomes focused. And what you focus on, the law of attraction is not just about thinking positively. It's about being deliberate. It's about aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions toward a vision that is so vivid it begins to feel real even before it manifests. But to get to that point, you have to know what you want, and not just on the surface. You have to get honest with yourself. Not just about what you think you're supposed to want, but about what actually lights you up. Because here's the truth. You cannot attract a life that isn't truly yours. You can't fake alignment. If you're chasing something because it looks good on paper, or because it's what everyone else is doing, it will always feel like a struggle. There will always be friction. Or when your vision is born from your truth, that's when the law of attraction starts working with you instead of against you. Clarity isn't just about goals, it's about identity. It's about deciding who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. Because success isn't the thing you reach, it's a reflection of who you are. So when you create a vision, don't just list outcomes. Imagine yourself living it. What do your days look like? What kind of people are around you? How do you feel in your body? What values are guiding your decisions? The more vivid the vision, the more real it becomes. That's the power of the mind. It doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's experienced. That's why elite athletes visualize themselves winning before they ever step on the field. That's why high performers rehearse success in their minds before it shows up in their reality. Because clarity builds confidence. And confidence builds momentum. When you are clear, you stop hesitating. You stop second-guessing every move. You don't waste energy trying to be everything to everyone. You stop chasing every shiny object. You get focused, you get intentional, and the world responds to that kind of energy. There's something magnetic about a person who knows where they're going. They may not have it all figured out. They may not have the perfect plan, but their why is clear. Their direction is strong. They don't need to convince anyone. They just are. That kind of clarity is powerful because it gives other people permission to be clear too. Think about it. When someone walks into a room and they're grounded, present, and purpose-driven, you feel it. You're drawn to it. That's not charisma. That's clarity. And clarity creates attraction. And here's the thing, clarity isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily discipline. It's something you return to again and again because the world is loud. Distractions are everywhere. Expectations are always trying to pull you off course. And if you're not rooted in your own vision, you'll get swept up in someone else's. So clarity isn't just about knowing, it's about remembering. It's about reconnecting to your vision, even on the days when things feel uncertain, especially on those days, because that's when it matters most. Anyone can feel clear when things are going well, but the people who truly attract success are the ones who stay connected to their vision when the evidence isn't there yet. They keep showing up. They keep choosing alignment. They keep saying no to what doesn't serve them, not because it's easy, but because their vision is worth it. And here's what happens when you live that way. People notice, not because you're shouting, but because you're living. Your clarity becomes contagious. It inspires others to find their own. That's how you create impact, not just by achieving, but by embodying. And that starts with a clear vision. So ask yourself, if nothing was off limits, what would my life look like? If I stopped worrying about failure, judgment, or how long it would take? What would I build? What would I give? What would I become? Because once you know the answer to that question, everything else gets easier. Decisions become obvious, distractions lose their power. You stop settling, you start elevating. Clarity creates conviction, and conviction creates movement. The law of attraction isn't about forcing, it's about flowing. But you can only flow when you know where you're going. So don't wait for clarity to show up. Create it. Sit with it, write it down, speak it out loud. Rehearse it in your mind until it becomes part of who you are. Let your vision be so clear that doubt has nowhere to hide. Because when you're clear, the universe doesn't have to guess. And when the universe doesn't have to guess, it delivers. The greatest myth about success is that it begins in the outside world. That if you change your environment, your bank account, your job title, your status, you'll finally feel how you want to feel. Confident, fulfilled, powerful, happy. But the truth is, it works the other way around. Success doesn't create emotion. Emotion creates success. That's the core of the law of attraction most people miss. It doesn't respond to your words, doesn't respond to your effort alone. It responds to your state. And your emotional state, your energy, your feelings is the strongest signal you're sending out at any moment. You don't attract what you say you want. You attract what you feel is true. We live in a world that's obsessed with strategy, with how, with doing more, faster, harder. And yes, strategy has its place. But the deeper layer, the thing that actually moves the needle, is the energy behind the strategy. Emotion is the fuel. It's what gives power to your vision. It's what breathes life into your belief. You can know what you want. You can write it down. You can create vision boards, repeat affirmations, read all the books. But if the emotion behind it doesn't match the outcome you're trying to attract, you're stuck. You're misaligned. The signal you're sending is static. Emotion is the language the universe understands best. And the people who consistently attract what they want, abundance, joy, love, impact, are the ones who learn how to feel it before it arrives. This is not about faking. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about putting on a happy face and pushing your emotions aside. Quite the opposite. It's about choosing to become deeply present with the emotion of your future. To embody it now, not because you're ignoring reality, but because you're creating a new one. When you feel success emotionally, before you see any proof of it, you're signaling trust. You're saying, I believe in this vision so deeply that I'm going to start living in its energy now. That kind of emotional alignment is powerful because you're not waiting for the win. You're becoming the kind of person who attracts the win. And people feel that. They don't just hear your words. They feel your energy. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's calm, certain, quietly contagious. That kind of emotional state shifts rooms. It invites opportunity. It makes people want to be around you, work with you, help you, believe in you. Because belief is emotional, not logical. The challenge is that most people wait to feel good. They wait for results to change their state. But that's like waiting for a fire to feel warm before you put in the wood. That's not how it works. You have to go first. You have to become emotionally responsible for your vision. You have to ask yourself daily, how would I feel if I already had what I wanted? And then practice stepping into that state, not once, but consistently. Would you walk differently? Would you speak differently? Would you make decisions from peace instead of pressure? Would you show up more boldly, more freely, more fully? That version of you already exists. The path to success isn't about chasing it, it's about aligning with it. And alignment happens emotionally first. Emotion is magnetic. Passion, love, enthusiasm. These are not soft, abstract things. They are currencies. And the more you cultivate them, the more the world responds. People want to be around aliveness. They want to be near energy that feels real. This is why people follow certain leaders. Not because they have all the answers, but because they radiate belief. They make people feel something. That's what moves people. That's what builds loyalty. That's what sparks momentum. Not facts, not figures, feeling. If you want to attract success, you have to train your emotional body just like you train your mind. You have to practice being in the feeling of success even when the evidence says otherwise, especially when the evidence says otherwise, right? Because that's the test. That's where most people fall off. They get discouraged. They look around, and because they don't see results, they start doubting the process. They shrink back. Their energy shifts, and they start attracting more of what they don't want: frustration, confusion, resistance. But those who stay in the energy of what they're building, who hold the emotional line, even in uncertainty, those are the ones who break through, because they're not reacting to reality, they're shaping it. This takes discipline, emotional discipline, the willingness to feel good on purpose, not when it's convenient, not when everything's lined up, but now, in the middle of the unknown. That's where power lives. Gratitude helps with this. Gratitude is emotional alignment. It's the practice of feeling full now. It's the fastest way to shift into abundance, because it reminds you that even if you're not there yet, you're already standing on something solid. You're already moving. You're already becoming. And when you create from that place, you're unstoppable. So if you're serious about attracting success, stop chasing results and start cultivating the emotion of the outcome. Don't just visualize what you want, feel it. Don't just write goals, embody them. Practice the energy of the future now, and let that emotional resonance pull the right people, opportunities, and timing toward you. This is what alignment feels like. Not forced, not frantic, but full of trust, full of purpose, full of power. Because when you start feeling the wind now, success doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. There's a moment where your every dream either fades or begins to form. And that moment isn't when you visualize it. It's not when you talk about it. It's when you act on it. That's when the shift happens. That's when a vision starts to move from imagination to reality, not because you're forcing it, but because you're stepping into it. This is the part of the law of attraction people often forget. They think if they think it long enough or feel it strong enough, it will show up on its own. But life doesn't respond to passivity. It responds to movement. Energy creates energy. Clarity attracts clarity. But action is what turns possibility into progress. And not just any action, inspired action. There's a difference between action driven by pressure and action driven by purpose. One feels heavy, exhausting, like you're grinding your way uphill. The other feels alive. Even if it's hard, even if it's uncertain, it carries a different energy. It's not coming from fear, it's coming from belief. Inspired action isn't about hustling for approval. It's not about doing more for the sake of looking busy. It's not frantic, it's focused. It's what happens when your belief and your vision begin to move your feet. It's the meeting point between inner alignment and external momentum. When you believe in your vision and you feel that belief emotionally, your body naturally wants to move. You get ideas, you feel nudges, you notice things you didn't see before. People show up, resources appear. But here's the key. You have to meet those moments. You have to say yes. You have to step toward them. That's what turns attraction into creation. Because you can't just attract success, you have to build it. Attraction isn't passive. It's not waiting for life to hand you a perfect opportunity with a red bow on it. It's responding when the whisper says, call that person. Apply anyway. Say yes to that meeting. Start even though it's not perfect. That's inspired action. It's not loud, it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just small, quiet courage that says, I'm moving. The law of attraction isn't asking you to do everything, it's asking you to stay awake, to stay in the energy of creation, to recognize that when you feel aligned with your purpose, action becomes less about force and more about flow. But that doesn't mean it's always comfortable. In fact, inspired action often shows up as the thing you don't feel ready for, that email you've been putting off, that decision you've avoided, leap that feels too big, and yet deep down you know it's time. That's why this isn't about motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline, grounded in purpose, is what keeps you going. When you're clear on why you're doing something, you don't need to be pushed, you're pulled. And that pull, that internal nudge toward action, is where momentum is born. Action is proof of belief. If you say you believe something, but your choices don't reflect it, the belief isn't rooted yet. But when belief becomes real, you stop hesitating, you stop negotiating with yourself, you stop waiting for permission. And here's what's beautiful. Action creates clarity. Most people wait for clarity before they move. But sometimes the clarity only shows up after you take the first step. You write the first page, you make the first call, you take the first risk, and suddenly you're not in theory anymore, you're in motion. You're learning, you're refining, you're adjusting in real time. That's how alignment grows. You don't need to know every step before you start, you just need to start. The law of attraction works in motion. It's not a map, it's a compass. It doesn't always show you the whole path, it just keeps nudging you toward the next right thing. And the more you act on those nudges, the more confidence you build, not just in yourself, but in the process. Because every time you take inspired action, you prove to yourself that you trust the vision, that you trust the timing, that you trust yourself. That's the internal momentum most people are missing. Not the kind that screams hustle, but the kind that whispers, keep going. The kind that doesn't quit when things get uncertain. The kind that says, I don't need to have it all figured out. I just need to stay aligned. And yes, there will be resistance. Fear will show up, doubt will knock. But that's not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're growing. Inspired action doesn't mean easy. It means intentional. It means every move you make is rooted in who you're becoming, not who you've been. You don't attract success by waiting. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who moves with purpose, even when it's uncomfortable, even when there's no applause, even when no one's watching. Because here's what happens when you keep showing up. The world starts responding. People notice. Doors open, momentum builds, not because of luck, not because of timing, but because you chose to be in motion. And when belief meets behavior, when emotion fuels execution, that's where the magic happens. That's where attraction becomes achievement. So don't just dream, move. Don't just visualize, act. Don't just wait for the right moment, be the right moment. Because the life you want isn't waiting for you to get it perfect. It's waiting for you to begin. There's a powerful truth that often gets overlooked in the pursuit of success. You cannot receive more until you learn how to fully appreciate what you already have. Gratitude isn't a soft, sentimental idea. It's strategic. It's energetic. It's foundational to the law of attraction because it shifts your focus from lack to abundance, from fear to trust, from expectation to awareness. And what you focus on is what grows. You can chase success all day long, but if you're doing it from a place of dissatisfaction, if your energy is constantly telling the world, this isn't enough, then you're building your future on scarcity. That kind of foundation can't hold the weight of what you're trying to attract. But when you begin with gratitude, when you start by recognizing what's already working, even in small ways, everything shifts. Gratitude is the ultimate amplifier. It doesn't just make you feel good, it expands your capacity to receive. It tells the universe, I see it, I honor it, I'm ready for more. Not in a desperate way, not in a needy way, but in a grounded, confident way that says, I know I'm already blessed, and I welcome what's next. When you operate from that space, you become magnetic. Not because you have it all figured out, but because you're tuned in. You're not resisting the present, you're embracing it. You're not fighting reality, you're dancing with it. That energy is powerful, it's rare, it's real. Too often, we fall into the trap of conditional gratitude. I'll be grateful when I reach the goal, when I get the promotion, when I find the relationship, when I finally feel successful. But that mindset keeps the future out of reach because you're postponing your emotional alignment. You're waiting for something to shift before you allow yourself to feel the way you want to feel. But the law of attraction responds to your current state. Not your wishful state, not your future state, right now, this moment, this energy. And gratitude is the fastest way to elevate that energy because it forces you to look at what's here, what's real, what's working. And here's the irony. The more grateful you are, the more things you start noticing that were already in your life. Opportunities, support, beauty, strength, resources. Gratitude opens your eyes. It doesn't create new blessings out of thin air. It simply reveals the ones that were already around you. And from that awareness, new doors start to open. Gratitude changes your posture. It shifts you from chasing to receiving, from proving to appreciating. It takes you out of survival mode and puts you into creation mode. Because when you feel full, you stop grasping. You stop operating out of fear that you're going to miss something or lose something. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes. You start showing up differently in your relationships, in your work, in your leadership. And people notice. They feel that energy. Because people are drawn to people who are grounded, who are thankful, who can hold space for both ambition and appreciation at the same time. That's rare. And that's attractive. We've been conditioned to think that if we stop and feel grateful, we'll lose our edge. That gratitude means we're settling. That if we're content, we won't stay hungry. But that's not how it works. Real gratitude doesn't make you complacent, it makes you clear. It anchors you. It reminds you of what matters. And from that foundation, you can reach even higher. Gratitude and desire are not opposites, they're partners. Gratitude is what makes your desires honest. It keeps them rooted in purpose, not ego. It keeps you from chasing things just to fill a void. When you're already full, you don't pursue success to feel whole. You pursue it as an expression of who you already are. This is where attraction becomes effortless. When your life is already filled with meaning, the goals become an extension, not an escape. You stop trying to get, and you start trying to give. You move from consumption to contribution. You realize that success isn't about what you can accumulate, and gratitude is the gateway to that shift. It's easy to get stuck in what's missing. It's easy to spiral into comparison, frustration, impatience. But every time you return to gratitude, you realign, you remember what's good, you remember what's working, you tap into a deeper truth that even on your hardest day, there's something to be thankful for. A breath, a lesson, a chance to begin again. Gratitude builds resilience. It keeps your heart open even when the outcome hasn't arrived yet. It keeps you moving forward without becoming bitter without closing off, without giving up. Because you know that life is already showing up for you. Maybe not in the way you expected, but it's happening. And the more you see it, the more it grows. I mean, that's the beautiful paradox. When you stop needing more in order to feel full, you become the kind of person who attracts more without chasing it. Not because you're entitled to it, but because you're ready for it. You've proven that you can hold it, that you can honor it, that you can expand it. So if you want to use the law of attraction, start here, not with a list of goals, not with a picture of the future, but with a moment of stillness, a breath, a pause, a simple acknowledgement of what's already good, a thank you whispered before the breakthrough arrives. Because gratitude isn't just the reaction to success, it's the precondition. And when you live from that space, not just once, but daily, you stop waiting for your life to begin. You realize it already has.